7:44, welcome back to the show. Yeah, it's our chance to chat with the Burnaby Mayor, Mike Hurley, back with us on the BT couch. And as we look at housing in the city, this was a big part of the campaign that you ran on last year. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
New policies have been unfolding. Tell us about new developments and how you're going to keep rental housing in the mix to keep the good people in Burnaby.
Well, the latest policy we have come out with that our staff have worked really hard on over the last number of months is that all new development in the city will have to have a portion of 20%, which will be rental. As you know, we have lost a lot of our rental stock over the last 10 years. And it's actually probably been about 20 years since we have built any purpose-built rentals. And so that's a start down the right path. We're working very diligently with our housing task force to ensure that we're getting the housing mix we need within the city, the rental mix plus the middle housing, 2 and 3 bedroom.
So that housing task force is really interesting for diversity. 12 members on the team and 4 developers. And that's important because when I hear about the ambition behind rental housing, 20% attached to new developments, how do you do that in a way that new developers, they don't put a freeze on some of these new projects out there, because there's a bit of risk involved with them as well?
Well, of course there is. And they have a formula that they work with to ensure that first of all, they can get the money lenders to actually lend them the money for the projects. So that's why it's important to strike the right balance. And we feel we're going down the road of striking that right balance and working together with the different groups within our city, really engaging our public in the process. It's been the biggest public engagement process in Burnaby's history. Our community are just totally engaged. It's actually exciting to see that, and we're very convinced that we're going to come up with the right mix at the end of the day so that we can start housing in Burnaby so that everyone from all stages of life and all walks of life can be part of our city and help us build the community that really we want to build.
And what do you see as a realistic timeline, the idea of this policy to actually see it a reality for people in Burnaby to have access to that 20%?
Well, unfortunately, we can't click our fingers and make that happen overnight. I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, we will start to see the buildings coming back into focus of really meeting the needs of our citizens and giving our young families the opportunity to stay in our city and to be part of our great city. And we're looking forward to getting that up and running. I'm just hoping that everyone can be patient enough to see this through. It's taken us a long time to get to this point, and it will take a little bit of time to get us out of it too.
Well, there's time for that policy. A motion passed at Council, Burnaby City Council this past week, talking about living wage employer certification. Tell us about this if people are just getting wind. We've been sharing it in news this morning, but why such a priority for the city staff?
Well, it's a priority because that's part of the whole affordability piece. If people earn the right amount of money, they can afford to stay in our city. They can afford to be a very positive part of the community. And I just have a very strong belief that if a person works 40 hours a week, they should be able to afford to pay the rent and be afford to live a reasonably, they'll never get rich on this by any means, but a reasonably comfortable life if the right salary is in place. So we at City Hall believe that it's important that we're leaders in this field, and we really need to get a grips on. We live in the one of the most expensive parts of the world, and our wages just aren't keeping up.
Well, affordability is a big issue, and last week you've always been vocal against the Trans Mountain Pipeline, the federal government announcing the expansion with the intention to move forward. How do you continue to fight the intention on a federal level?
Well, we're continuing to look at ways that we can continue to oppose the pipeline. Having said that, we also are very aware that the federal government is determined to push this through. So we also, at the same time, have to take into consideration the safety of our citizens and what that expansion of that tank farm and the dangers that it brings to our city. And we believe that we're taking all the risk for this project in Burnaby because we're getting the expansion of the tank farm It's an expansion of our waterfront down there, where the oil will be loaded into these massive tankers. So we believe, as the terminus for this project, we're taking all the risk. And certainly, if it's in the national interest, if the national interest truly outweighs Burnaby's interests, we believe that the national interest should be paying for policing, should be paying for extra protection, and we need to be assured that we're having the best protection we can get for our citizens in this city.
And what's the first step in getting that protection in place?
Well, we have to get the experts in the room, and to this point, we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to engage TMX on the safety issues on the tank farm, on how we're going to manage Burnaby Mountain if a disaster does strike, or if a major problem does exist within that tank farm, and how we're going to manage that. And we need to get in a room with TMX experts, our experts, to decide what's the best way forward. And that's if the pipeline goes ahead, which we sincerely hope it doesn't.
Well, a lot of work still to be done on both sides with that discussion. Appreciate you touching on the points of affordable housing. We should mention 2 government pot shops, Edmonds and Metrotown, in the works in the near future, yeah?
Well, we're working with provincial government on that. There's been no real decision on where the actual possible pot shops will be. But we're looking at a government-run ones to start with, and take it slowly, and we'll move on from there.
Things are happening in Burnaby. Mayor Hurley, appreciate you coming by today.
Thank you very much.
Always working hard for the people. We'll take a break.